Hey guys, and how's it going? We're going to work a little bit on the oval, so I thought I'd just get the bumpers put on. I got new bumpers, so I don't know. And I was doing some stuff here. One of the things I did is the speedometer. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working, and I looked at it, and the needle was on the other side of the stop. So I just took it apart, carefully pulled up on the needle, and dropped it over the other side of the. Didn't take much bending to do that. I didn't think it would break or anything, so it didn't. And now it works perfectly. So that's fixed. I thought I had an ashtray for this. I think this is the correct one. So I don't know if I'll put that on in this video, but just want to show you guys that. I do need to get this thing pushed in through here, which takes two people for this one. So I got to put that through the hole, and then I got to get the choke cable. So I don't know. I guess I'm just going to put the choke cable in regardless of whether I have the choke hooked up or not. I mean, for now at least, I need a choke to make the car run right eventually. So I'll get that. I ended up buying another speedometer cable because I thought the cable was too short and pulling out, and that's not what the problem was. Ended up being just that needle, so that's done. So on these, on an oval window, they're black. On your later models, they're silver. So I got some brand new overriders. And the other thing to do, makes your life a whole lot easier. Let's put these grommets in first. Upper and this one and the bottom. Just so you know. A lot of guys, I've seen them try to put the grommets in afterwards, and boy, you know, if it's a brand new fender, if it's in really good shape, it's almost impossible to do. So these were the original ones. They were actually originally black. Still, so these are probably the original bumper brackets. I'll put that one upside down. Maybe not. I don't think it's alright. It's just a bit bent. So I'll put the bolts in. On the front ones, I've already got them in, but you put this in through the inside. I don't know on the back, I can't remember. Yeah, you gotta put it in too. Goes in this way. It's a tight squeeze. If you put it in this way, a lot of times it won't go in. It's easier to go from the inside, believe it or not. It's not easy, but with the grommets in, it's much easier than trying to put the grommets on afterwards. Guess I better get underneath it. I'll have to bring you guys back in on that, but on the front, for sure, put the inside in first. The back, yeah, I think you have to too, because it's a little bit wider. And this one's the left, so good thing I didn't see L. Gotta put that on the other side. All right, guys, take it off a couple times, put it back on, and spare you guys the details of all that because that's the typical bumper. But I always like it when this happens. and doesn't hit. A lot of times they'll hit. But the original bumper brackets on the body helped, I think, and Wolfsburg West high quality bumpers. Yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. Oh, it was a lot of work though, just getting them on, taking off, taking on, off. Had to put bolts on because the brackets are a little bit bent, which is typical. I mean, I don't think I've ever put on a set of brackets that just bolted right on. So anyway, got the rear one on. That looks a lot better. I mean, it conflicts right with the taillight, right? That was kind of the thing about the overrider bumpers on this car, is that's why they went to the snowflakes. This was kind of, I don't know, some US thing. They just decided they wanted different taillights. The other ones were the hearts. And then this wasn't required yet to have these kind of bumpers with the overriders. But I don't know. I seen a lot of pictures, and all the dealers all had, in 54, had overrider bumpers. So I think it was like a traditional thing that they started doing in the US. And then it became law, or maybe they knew it was going to become law in the next year. So they were just like getting everybody prepped for it. So almost all the cars in the US had these, even in 54 that I'm aware of, that I was looking at. And so this one had the box checked on the M codes for these bumpers. So I decided to put them on. Those are original stamped fenders with the holes. I didn't want to weld them up, you know. I had original fenders and the original apron with the holes in it. So I had to get these back on. Now, the original ones for this car would have been super crude. I was talking to a guy, and he said the bends on the tubing, where it looked like somebody did it themselves at home. It was kind of crappy, really bad quality, and on the 54 bumpers. So you can't find original ones. They're like impossible to find. So I just thought it was cool just to have these on it. So we went with these. I wanted new ones. I wasn't putting old junk or getting something re-chromed, spending $5,000. Oh, I got original bumpers. Oh, yeah, okay, great, good for you. You spend the $5,000, I'll keep it myself. You know, by the time you get everything chrome, I bet it would be a lot of money, a lot. It might be $5,000, seriously, because they'd have to get all the rust off of them. Chroming is ridiculous now. It's just way expensive. I mean, everybody wanted about $300, and the guy did these for $250. You know, just for this little bit of chrome here. So you can imagine a whole bumper that's rusted and needs to be reworked. I mean, that was for, no, not for, yeah, that was these and these right here. These pieces and these ones was, everybody wanted $300, and I found a guy that did it for $250, so I went for it. Anyway, a lot of money. Talk to you guys later. I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. I can't get this bumper bracket to come out. It's got space on it and everything. It should. It's just something's. It's just fighting this thing and all this stuff. So I don't have. I'm missing 2 of these things here. So I don't know where they went. So I'm gonna hope to find those, and I'll readjust it when I get them found. At least they're on, and I just put the bolts in them, without the bracket. So as long as I got one in there on each side that keeps them, tight, that'll work for now. And then, I'll just readjust the bumper. Maybe it's partly this being bent, but I should be able to get out like a 1/4 of an inch, so it'd be pretty close then. A little bit off, but it's fine. Yep. Yeah, that's about it for that. Now the next thing I got to do is pull the engine out. We were just discussing this. I really would like to put a Crasa motor in here, but like I said, it's going to cost way too much money right now. So, kind of debating what to do on it. But the engine that's in it it definitely needs a valve job. The valves are leaking. When you fire it up, you can hear it. You can hear that. It usually just starts right up. That's a cold start, but you can. One of the exhaust valves is definitely not. I don't know if it's burnt. But now listen when you turn it off. When you turn it off, you can hear it. Listen, it goes. See that? That tells me that one of the exhaust valves is leaking. It's not leaking up the carburetor, so I know it's not the intake. It's leaking out of the exhaust and kind of making it sound like it has an exhaust leak. I think is most of that. I think it does have an exhaust leak, I'm sure, but so the valves need to be done. I can smell oil. I can't really tell, but I'm thinking the rings are probably shut toast too. So I'm thinking about just kind of doing something temporary, but then again, it's kind of, I'd like to do the Crasa engine eventually, and I may end up doing it, but it's kind of a drag to do it twice, right? And then the cost of the bearings. So what I like to do is to take it apart, though. If I'm going to drive this thing at all with that engine, I really need to take it apart. When you get an old engine, it really kind of bugs me when guys don't do this. It doesn't take that long to split the case. Split the case and clean out the bottom of the case. If it's had any kind of water in there, it's going to have that milkiness, and that can get sucked up into the bearings. And sometimes there's like a sandy stuff that's in there. So the engine should be pulled out and then cleaned out the bottom. And so that's what we're going to probably do, is just clean out the bottom and then check everything and see. But I know usually how that goes. And check it and see, and then we're going to be like, oh, got to do the whole thing, and then that's going to cost a lot of money, and then it just snowballs from there. So anyway, the carpet looks great in here. We got that all in here. Can't wait to drive this thing. I'm not really excited about getting this thing plated and paying more registration right now. I want to sell something, so keep it insured, but it's still expensive. All that stuff, man. You guys have seen cost of insurance has gone way up. Even for the classic cars, it just went up. Everything, I think it went up 30%. I don't know. And a lot of people go, oh, it's because, you know, the insurance companies are gouging. Well, it's not really. It's actually because the cost of everything. When they raise minimum wage, I'm telling you guys this, and you guys don't believe me, but that's okay. They raise minimum wage. Okay, it raises the cost of everything. When everything goes up, we've been having minimum wage increases every time, and then they had this $20 an hour increase in minimum wage. All that stuff makes the cost of everything goes up, because when you go out to lunch, you pay more, so you need to make more, and then everybody's price goes up with something like that. It just, anytime you have, it's called cost push inflation. If you don't believe me, I got straight A's in economics. It's called cost push inflation. It's a cost to corporations that goes up, and it makes everything go up. So even the classic cars, the replacement cost and body shop costs, all that stuff went up. And it's not just price gouging. It partly could be, but a lot of it's government push. And so we're kind of in this interesting time. So that's all I can say. All right, guys, today we're going to go ahead and take this engine out and take it over to the other side of the shop and tear it down. So, you know, we've got the bumpers on. The bumper brackets, remember, on the early cars was black. The later ones, it was silver. So I stripped them all down and did them all black. Remember, if you saw that in the video, I don't know if I explained that. But what we're going to do now is going to just pull the motor and see if it's any good. I mean, is the case eroded away? You know, we don't know. And, you know, I was going to just, originally I was just going to pull this, you know, maybe put some rings in it and put, you know, heads on it and just run it for now. But we were talking about it and started thinking, you know what, it could be that there's case erosion in the bottom, and if that milky stuff ends up in the pickup, it's always best to tear down an old engine that's been sitting. So let's tear it down and see how bad it is and see what we can do with it. Right, what I usually do is I'll take these and then, let's see if I can do it with you guys watching. I get up in here and I will just grab my fuel line, crimp it shut. Let me see, I get a little bit tighter. And I'll just crimp her shut. Then I'll pull off the fuel line. And I remember years ago I used to use like a plug that I put in here. And I don't know why I didn't have needle nose vice grips. A lot of stuff's a lot easier to get now. You know, you didn't have Harbor Freight. The stuff they had was such garbage back in that day. Now they got these Bremen ones that are, damn, they're just as good as the vice grip brand. And, you know, I only had a limited amount of funds back then, so I used to just use whatever I had. And I used to just put a plug in it. Little like a pencil almost, and man, I remember gas all over my shirt, taking me a couple of minutes to get that thing back on. These things are so much better. All right, so not much left. All I gotta do is take the bolts out. This nut, that's tight. Or is it up against the, okay, yeah, it's tight, like it should be, right? Pull these two off. And generally, you know, you shouldn't do this. Don't do this at home. But I take these all the way off and then I lower it down and put it on the jack. And it never had an engine fall out from doing that. But you guys comment that below. how stupid you think I am for doing that, but I just watch it, make sure she's not wanting to start slip loose. Some of them come out really easy, some don't. But anyway, I'll just get these all loosened up. All right, I used to always wait. Customer's car, I used to always wait, put it on the jack first. Boss would be yelling at me if I did it this way, but I'll take them all the way off. And then I'll just let her down nice and slow, and then go ahead and slide this sucker out of here. We'll take a look at it. Alright guys, I think I found an issue. Okay, there was, you look here, this is kind of all black over here. And, well, I know I found an issue. Okay, is there any nut on there? The other side? Nope. No nut here, and no nut there. I haven't taken those off yet. Listen carefully. Remember I said I think it had a valve leak? Hear that? It's just coming right out of the side of the cylinder. It almost sounded like it had a, I was like, one of the valves is leaking, and I thought it was the valve, but it's actually the cylinder leaking between the head. But I mean, it wasn't head rattle. I didn't hear that. So, It's got case savers, looks like. I'll take it apart and see. This is stud pulling. I don't know. Number 4. Yeah. It's just leaking compression out from the head. Now, if it did that long enough, it could just have a groove in the head. So, I don't know. I mean, it'll have to be resurfaced or something to get that fixed, at least. So, we'll kind of leave it at that. We'll see what we come up with when we get it all apart. One of the things I do is, I forgot to do, I broke one. I forgot. Yeah, I'm going to save the heads, which I'm probably going to have to, who knows, is I'll cut these nuts. I'll split them in half. So I'll take a cutoff wheel and kind of cut through it, and then take a chisel and split them in half to take them off. So if you got studs on a head and you go to turn it and it doesn't move, before you break it off, because sometimes drilling them out is impossible. Yeah. So before you do that, if you think for sure it's just going to break, I'll run it back and forth a little bit. Like this one here started, it moved just a little bit, and then it just felt like it was going to break. So I tightened it. I put a little bit of lube on it and tightened it back up, some Freol, and then loosen, and then put some more Freol on it and loosened it. Put some more Freol on it, tightened it, went back and forth, and then it came out. I mean, sometimes I'll do that, but if you think it's just going to break, split the nut in half. Just take a cutoff wheel, cut a slice in it. Maybe I'll do that real quick. Try to take a look. I don't know. I haven't even really looked at it yet myself. So, but it doesn't look like it. It just blew compression by right here, and a little bit right there. And then if you look at the head, I kind of looked at the head already without you guys. Let me see. So this is the top of the head, and if you can see there, compression was blowing by right there, wasn't it? And then down here you can see it was seated. So up on the top, the head came loose. Not enough to cause, I mean, it wasn't hammering, but I could hear it slipping by. I couldn't hear the heads hammering on the studs. So weird that it just, the nuts just came off. So anyway, yeah, that was the issue. That was why this thing sounded so horrible. I knew it was losing compression. I thought it was a valve, but it looks like, I mean, maybe this thing was rebuilt. I don't know. It looks like the top end might have been done. I mean, that looks way too clean to not have been done once. Yeah. Way too clean. And it's not like super, super clean, but it's got that yellowed oil that sat in here probably for a long time. It sat for a lot of years. I don't know how long. We don't know the history of the car, so. But I don't know why those nuts came off, but they did. So that's what the issue was. That's why it was so noisy. If you heard the car before, then you'll know that I was hearing compression leaking through, and that's what I could hear. And that's what I was listening to right there. So I don't think this side's going to be nearly as bad. So I took that one apart first. Over there. Let's get this side off and well, of course, this side looks fine. This looks like, what are these, 77s? I can't remember. I've taken apart a 36 horse. I mean, the farthest I've gotten is the heads on one of these. We never worked on them. Well, some people did, but I never did. But the only thing I ever did with these is take them out of the car and put another engine in. That was it. Back in the old days, we never fixed these. So it was expensive back years ago to do them because the parts were so unique. So nobody rebuilt them really. Not in the era that I was in. Not in the 80s. Maybe in the 60s and 70s they probably did more. But the 80s, no. So anyway, but you can see there's no crosshatch left in there. This sucker's got some wear, but it doesn't have any ridge. So yeah, the rings were definitely not doing their job. I could tell it was smoking. So, you know, I don't think that was from the cylinder leak. Yeah, this thing had some issues in it. The oil didn't look the best coming out. There's some chunks in it came out, but it's not like rod knocking or anything like that. So I'm sure the bottom end's probably okay. I just don't know if the case is. I don't know if the case is eroded, and that's kind of what we're doing right now to find out. See, if I recall correctly, I didn't work on very many 36 horses, but what is that? I don't think that's the original oil pump, so this has been apart. Maybe that's good news. That's probably what saved this thing from dying. 17 would have been original, I think. And this has got a 21 in it. And probably, unless I might put bigger one even yet. Might put a 26 in it. I'm not sure. Depends on what I get, what I'm doing with it. We'll find out later. Can't forget the tube back here. Now, I've had one of these apart before. I remember some of this stuff, but it's been a long time. I cannot remember when. I don't even remember doing it. But I do remember these two bolts not moving. So they need a different socket. We'll get that one off. I'll bring you back in. So what condition were the push rod tube seals in? Let's look. Huh. Yeah, slightly, slightly. All right, first look-see. Cam looks like sharp edges on it. I don't know if that thing's got very many miles on it. Let's look at the cam gear. A lot of times they get eroded from sitting there. This one doesn't look like it's at all. So we might have a rebuildable motor here. I think it's been rebuilt. We'll find out in a second here when we pull a bearing. But yeah, this thing looks like it was rebuilt at some point. Let's see what the main bearings tell us. Pull the flywheel seal and the shims. And but it's a good thing we did tear it apart, because look at this. See, all that will end up in the pickup coil or pickup screen. We did, when we did the first start on this, we tried to clean out some of that. We reached in there, kind of cleaned it around the best we could, but the pickup screen is kind of in the way. I think on these, that's right, they have a tube, but it doesn't feel eroded at all. So that's good news. Well, let's look at the back of the center main. Oh, what's that? Oh, they have a groove in them. They put a groove in the case too in these. No wonder why the line bores are probably so expensive to do. I don't know. We'll have to measure it with the bore scope and see. Maybe we don't have to do a line bore. I don't know. Well, how well is that bearing in there? That will come out real easy. You notice the bearings, they don't have, I mean, I don't know. This looks like this was done. This looks like they did it. I took apart some bolts. some of the bolts. As I said, look at the heads. Looks like this was done. Let's see if this one has got a marking on it. I'll look at it and bring you back in. All right, so let's look here at the bearing. And there's no markings on these, so I imagine they're standard. But if you can see there, let's get you guys up where you can kind of see a couple of little scores in there. If I can get it to focus. It's finding other things to focus on. All right, but you can see there's just a couple of little lines in there, and it looks to me that's all from sitting. And then when it first just cranked over because it hadn't run in so long, same things in all the bearings or on this one. Again, this one doesn't have any markings on it. Let's turn it around here. I'll let you guys look at it. No markings, so it's probably standard. What's that say? Sure. Say something? Can't see it. Anyway. So, yeah, there's just this stuff here just probably from sitting most of the time. But you can see just a couple little freshy scores in there, and that's probably because the first, this thing sat a while. It might have had, in somewhere in the galleries, it probably had something in there. Wow, you can even see where they cleaned this off. So I didn't scratch it there. I didn't even have anything on that yet. Nothing. I didn't put a screwdriver in there at all. I cracked the case right here, and everything just came loose, and I could just wiggle it. From there, it came right off. Another thing I did is I used I'll leverage on something and then push on the stud, so I don't have to put anything between the case. So that's why I took it apart. So I did not touch that at all, and you can see where they cleaned the gaskets from years ago. I mean, this thing, it might have just gotten rebuilt right before, I don't know, low miles. Look at this, the crankshaft. I'll measure that a little bit here. The rods, or the crankshaft here, I haven't pulled the rods off yet. But look at that. I mean, it's pretty clean, other than you can see the same identical scratches, which I don't think they're really a big deal. This thing is probably put back together and just run it the way it is. The real issue with this engine is those heads were loose. Well, not loose, the nuts were missing. On the one side, the one head was loose. I could hear it when I was turning it over. I can hear compression coming out. So I thought it was a valve. So it ended up being the head. So, anyway, that's all that's wrong with it. I guess we'll decide what to do here. This crankshaft looks like it's runnable. We'll measure it out, check it, see. But just from the looks of it right now, it looks runnable. There's no erosion on the cam. The cam is cherry. It's beautiful, brand new cam. The cam looks like there's no side wear, there's no scoring on it, there's nothing. It's like a brand new cam. It's perfect. So that looks good. I looked on the case, and back in the old days, I don't know, I was talking to a guy, and he said they didn't put the X's on the cases until later years, so I don't see any markings on here. I see something here. I don't know what that is, but I think that was a factory marking. I don't know. I don't remember 36s much, guys. Like I said, the only thing I remember doing with them is taking them out, putting them up in the attic, and that was it. Because it costs money to rebuild one of these. Not everybody see the line bore on this. Look, everybody goes, well, if you got a regular line bore machine, you're gonna have to do like you do with a cam bore. So this probably costs twice as much money to line bore this case as a regular case. There's no groove here. I can't check here. The bearing wasn't totally loose that was in here. Let's look here. The other things you look at when you're pulling apart an engine, okay, is you look at this surface here, okay, where the two halves go together. So let's look, get it where it'll stay in place. The two halves go together. If you see shiny right here, it tells you that possibly the movement of the case was causing case wear. I don't see any of that. Cam bearing surfaces look good. It's weird they don't even have a groove in here for the oil on these. It's really strange. It just was a slinger style, I guess. Look at the size of that intake. I think a 21 is adequate for this. I mean, probably the oil pump that's in it's fine. It looks to me like it is. You know, it looks like it's got no wear on it. I think what this thing needed was just to be taken apart and cleaned. So it's pretty good. We've got some other ideas here we're going to throw around, and you guys have to see the next video on this to know what we're actually going to do, because I really kind of don't know right now. But we will find out in the next few days. So that's it for the teardown. I don't see anything bad. And I saw a 21 millimeter pump on here, which to me, the 17s, they're death. I don't know. Some guys will say run a 17, they're fine, it's adequate. German, they engineered it that way, they put it together that way. Okay. There's the way the car was built, and there's things that work better, okay? On my last video, I'm going to have to clarify a bunch of things. I'm going to make another video coming up here. I have to clarify a few things that I do stuff based on my experience. When I say that the car was not really designed as a car to be driven on the highways, that was a secondary afterthought with these cars. When they came to the U.S., tell me somebody who used the car as a daily driver and drove it on the freeway every day. I don't know anyone, and I knew 1 in 3 people had VWs when I was younger. My aunt and uncle had them. My grandmother had one, and I don't know anybody who was their only car and they drove it on the freeway every day. It was usually a second car that they had, and that's experience. But according to the manual, it says, you know, or the old videos, that the German car was engineered to be put on the highway and driven at 62 miles an hour and all this other stuff, right? A 25 horse, I could see, okay, at 5.9 or 5.6, I can't remember, to 1 compression ratio of 25 horse. Okay, I could see you could slam it on the floor and drive it all day long, and it's not going to hurt it because it doesn't have enough power to hurt itself. Same thing with 36 horse. You're talking about what, 6 point, I forget what it is. It's barely in the 6, but 6.6 to 1 compression ratio. You can slam it on, slam your foot on the floor. You start doing that with a 1600, and it's a whole different ball game, guys. Whole different ball game. No. It's not the same. That's why I re-engineer stuff. That's why I make stuff better than the factory, because the stuff from the factory either was super, super slow on 36 horse, you know. Can you drive it on the freeways today? Yeah, you know, going uphill, you're going awful damn slow, and if somebody rear-ends you, that's a big problem, okay? I've almost gotten rear-ended in my bus because I was following the electric bus, and I was going 45 on a 65 mile an hour zone, and somebody just came up on me all really fast and didn't know what to do. I mean, because people aren't used to seeing that, all right? So we'll talk about that later. But anyway, that's the difference between the perspective and what the engineers made, all right? So anyway, my videos are about perspective, all right? So anyway, I'll talk to you guys a little bit later. We'll check this out. and looks like a good motor. I mean, I see no reason why I couldn't run this. All right, talk to you in the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe.